Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Josh Poniatowski. With me, Alex Taylor. What's going on, dude?
What up?
Rolling into finishing week 10. We're going to talk about key talking points, fantasy playoff schedule, buy low, sell high, things you need to know to steal your championship. I don't know if you can hear it, Alex, but I'm a little clogged up. I'm a little bit sick today.
Well, it's freezing here. I saw an image that it was like colder last night in parts of Florida than in parts of Alaska.
No,
Given this was online. It was online.
Okay.
You know, the people lie.
It must have been
it was
real.
Like, parts of Florida dipped like 38, and there was like parts of Alaska that were like 40. I mean, given it wasn't by much, but it's still a wild. So it makes sense that your immune system got rocked.
Yeah, I mean, us homegrown Floridians, when the weather goes from 40 to 80 in the middle of the day, it throws us off.
We don't like
for
it.
Sure. So,
I have my beanie on.
not at all.
As a bald man, man, my head gets cold. People, that hair, people don't realize when you lose that hair, it is rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was also your birthday weekend, so I'm sure you were going a little partying a little hard as you do.
Yeah, maybe enjoyed ourselves. Yes, with some beverages, the norm. All right. Well, we're gonna talk about some data. I got some quick data dump information. Some of this stuff I thought was pretty juicy as I was going through it. But first off, we're gonna start with Tyreek Hill's injury. I know this happened in week 4, but since then, Jayden Waddle is averaging 7 targets a game, 30% first read target share, 22% team target share, and 80 receiving yards a game.
Yeah. I think he had only really had like one stinker, but other than that, he's had like at least like 80, 90 yards pretty much every game. Solid.
Yeah. Tyler Allgeier has 6 rushing touchdowns to Bijan Robinson's 2 on the season.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then listen to this. Since week 2, Tyler Allgeier has seen 100% of the carries within the 5-yard line. Granted, there's not a whole lot of them, like 4 or 5. But within the 10-yard line, he's seen 72% of the carries.
That's
Bijan's
wild.
Not getting a whole lot of goal line.
Yeah, that's wild.
Crazy. It's just interesting if you're a Bijan over.
Or
David Mills.
infuriating more than interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a high enough draft pick, and Bijan wasn't my running back 1 this year, so I don't have much stock of him. David Mills, his targets, first read target share is number 1 at the NFL at 77% of the time. So 77% of the time he goes to his first read target. Nico Collins' first read target share is 36%. But Dalton Schultz is number 2 on the team at 23%. And over the past 6 weeks, Schultz has averaged 7.5 targets a game and 72% route participation. He's kind of quietly been putting up tight end 1 usage numbers. And right now he's available in 70% of sleeper leagues. So if you need a tight end, he might be a viable guy that's just floating out there from a usage perspective.
That's with Davis Mills. If we think he's going to be starting again or not, we don't really know that yet.
Yeah, but the CJ Stroud situation has been tough for sure. Over the past 4 weeks, Alec Pierce has averaged 8.5 targets a game, 24% team target share, which is number 1 on the team, 91 receiving yards a game, and 32% first read target share. Daniel Jones is number 2 in the NFL with 76% of his targets being thrown to his first read. Alec Pierce was on waivers last week. He was a smash start for me. Maybe you picked him up, but if he's still available, I feel like he's a must-add at this point.
I know he's kind of killing my Josh Downs stock right now. I mean, he's wide receiver 15 last week, wide receiver 14 this week. I mean, he's always a big boom or bust guy, but he's kind of getting a little bit more steady.
I think it's because he's been on the field more consistently. They've been using him in those outside wide receiver sets. I think he's ran just as many routes, if not more, than Michael Pittman. He's pretty much on the field a lot. It's not like he's an elite talent, but he's getting the ball because he's on the field and that usage. Aaron Jones is clearly the running back 1 in Minnesota. He ended up playing 72% of the snaps when he came back. He got 75% of the running back opportunities. He literally just picked up where he left off. Jordan Mason kind of looks like a drop candidate at this point, but
I feel pretty good about that because I was really low in Jordan Mason preseason, and then I looked like obviously after the first couple of weeks, I was looking pretty rough there, and I was like kind of freaking out. I was like, I blew this. And then, all right, the ship righted itself, and now we're back to where we thought we would be. So,
yeah. This one's a crazy stat, though. Kyler Murray has thrown 5 touchdowns to Trey McBride in the past 3.5 years. And Jacoby Brissett has thrown 5 touchdowns to Trey McBride over the past 4 weeks.
Dude, Tyler's cooked.
Yes. Trey McBride, league-winning tight end right now. Jacoby Brissett can stay on the field and stay healthy.
Yeah.
Like, just all about it. Let's go. This isn't data, but J.K. Dobbins got a second opinion on his foot injury. This hasn't been too well known. It's a little under wraps. But this isn't good news. Usually when a player wants to get a second opinion, it's because the first one was like, hey, you need to be out an extended period of time or this is bad. If RJ Harvey is available in any league, he needs to be the #1 waiver ad. And honestly, I'd probably spend all of my fab on him. And if a manager isn't aware, because this hasn't been reported too much as of yet, as we're recording this, I'd be looking to buy him like right away from that manager. I'd be selling to get him. Yeah,
and poor Dobbins, that dude just cannot stay healthy. God.
Yeah, it was inevitable. Harvey was one of those guys I was like, keep him on your bench until week 17 if you need to.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens with the usage. Sean Payton is always a pain in the butt when it comes to running back usage. But I hope Harvey, especially as a UCF guy, I just want to see him feast and do really well. All right, we're going to move over to some talking points. First up, another rookie running back, TreVeyon Henderson. He finally popped off. Those managers who held on to him all season, finally, you got to feel the gratification. Hopefully you started him with that 40-plus points. Alex, what are your thoughts on Henderson moving forward?
Just classic that it had to happen at my Bucs expense. He broke off for 2 very long touchdowns. His speed was undeniable. Had time to look to the sidelines, see if the coaches want him to score or not. Like, well, what is that? What is that? That's disrespectful. He saw 70% of the team's rushing attempts. He looks to be the clear lead back as long as Ramondre Stevenson is out with his toe injury. Something to keep track of this week. See if he's practicing. If the Patriots. So the Patriots do play the Jets this week, who are giving up 138 rushing yards a game. If Ramondre is to sit out, then Henderson's obviously a smash start. But even if Ramondre does come back, I think that's undeniable talent there that Mike Vrabel can't just not give him some touches. So I think even if Ramondre is back, he's probably warrants a flex spot now.
Again, I agree the talent is there for Henderson, but Mike Vrabel is such a pain in the butt. And in order for Henderson to be fantasy relevant, we needed a Patriots running back 2 to get an ACL injury and be out for the year. The running back 1 needed to sit for 2 weeks, and the running back 4 needed to leave the game 4 minutes into the second quarter. People are probably going to hate this, but I think Henderson goes back to a split backfield the second Ramondre and Jennings return. I think the upside is there. If he continues to see 85% usage with these guys out, absolutely smash. But I just don't think Vrabel wants to do that. And their running back room's kind of thin. They're trying to make a playoff push. They're probably going to want to keep their guys healthy for the most part. I expect we're going to be here a couple weeks from now. Even though Henderson is the better talent, I think the better player, he's going to see a split, and fantasy managers are going to be pissed off. I'd be looking to sell high right now if I had Henderson.
Pretty bold. The cat's out of the bag. It's like you can't put the cat back in the bag. Pandora doesn't go back in the box. So Vrabel can't go to the media and not play Henderson when they saw him just dominate. But pivoting to next point, Joe Burrow just got activated to practice after missing the last 7 games with turf toe injury. Reports are he'd like to start the Thanksgiving night game against the Ravens. That's week 13. Adam Schefter just reported he thinks week 14 is probably a little bit more likely. We'll see how this goes. This does make Burrow a very spicy waiver ad if he's by chance available in your league. If people in the IR spots or not, or just kind of gave up. But if he's available, go probably full send or a good chunk if you need some quarterback help. But Josh, with how bad Joe Burrow and the Bengals have been at just like starting their season super slow, would you feel confident riding Burrow as a starting quarterback kind of right at the start of the fantasy playoffs?
So, I've been somewhat a savant this year when it's come to injury. I've been crushing stuff. But yeah, I think he needs to be added immediately if he's available on waivers. I was actually watching some film of him at practice recently. I don't know if you saw the clips, but he's jogging around. He's doing, high stepping drills. He's throwing passes, no issues. Again, it was a surgery on his toe. He appears to be way ahead of schedule based off all the videos that we see of him. It's not like he's going to be running and cutting a whole lot. His job is to throw the ball. And right now, Joe Flacco is not moving very quickly. He's a statue back there. I think there'll be a 2-game ramp up, and I'm hoping he does come back in week 13. By week 15, we should know what we have with Burrow in that situation. Yeah. I do think available, he needs to be rostered. He could help a QB needy team, right? Like if you've been streaming QBs all year and you're just been kind of getting by with wins and hit or misses, like this is a guy that could really help you make a fantasy push. With that being said, it's going to depend on the Bengals playoff situation. If they lose their next 2-ish games or 3 based on when he comes back, they might just be like, there's no reason for you to come back. We'll get him next year. But if they're still in the hunt and they're going to want him back, they're going to want him on the field to try to make that push. I do like him as an ad for a QB needy team. I don't know if you saw it, but I snuckily picked him up because I had Emmanuel Wilson as
in the Monday night game
running back for Monday night. So I went in there and
convenient, very convenient.
Burrow. It was just optimal timing. I was like, okay, very nice.
It's like because you have to have someone in the Monday night game, otherwise everyone's else locked. So
exactly. Pretty annoying. So it worked. It was pretty primo there. So got him for free. The Raiders came back to earth versus Denver, and Brock Bowers was pretty much non-existent. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see that coming.
That game was poop.
Yeah, it was an ugly game. But he does have Dallas this week. The remainder of the strength of schedule is probably one of the most challenging in the league. Alex, how are you looking at Brock Bowers' rest of the season when comparing him to like tight ends?
I mean, like at this point, you're kind of just committed to him, Like, is their schedule tough?
Okay.
Yes. Does Geno really suck? Yes. But I don't think anyone's going to give you an offer for Bowers that what a Bowers owner thinks he's worth or is fair.
Okay.
Maybe, boom game this week against Dallas. Maybe you work something out, depending on when your trade deadline is. But also it's like, sometimes you just got to have faith in talent. Yes, their opponents have good stats against tight ends, and that's what we look at. We look at, versus, how much they're giving up to each position. It's fair. Yep. I'm going to do it in later segments. I'm going to do it all the time because that's what we do here. But let's take a second to think, have those defenses had to play against any tight end of Brock Bowers' pedigree? Probably not, because there's not really that many of them. It's him, it's McBride, it's maybe Kittle. That's it. Yeah. So, they might look good against tight ends, but they haven't had to go up against tight ends like him. So, I just think, you just got to think. So, the Raiders are also, they're 2-7, right? Sometimes when these teams are, just totally eliminated, it's like the pressure's off. And sometimes you get a little bit, it's what they call a dead cat bounce in stock trading or whatever like that. You get a little bit of hope there right at the end. Maybe Geno starts to play a little bit more loose and starts to not suck so much. Maybe they switch over to Kenny Pickett, and maybe that's a benefit for him. I don't know. Yeah. I just think you're kind of just, with Brock Bowers, you're kind of just dug in at this point. You're just riding it, and you're just hoping for some boom games.
And I think that's a super valid point about the talent situation. If you believe, and we know Brock Bowers is an elite talent, even with strength of schedule, you ride with the talent. Like I've seen some people talking about Rashid Rice. Kansas City has a very difficult playoff schedule when it comes to wide receivers. And they're like, well, should I trade Rice for strength? I'm like, no, Rashid Rice is an elite wide receiver. Kansas City is passing the ball at an insanely high rate. You believe in the talent versus just the matchups in that schematic. So I do think that's important. I think sometimes throughout the season, we forget about that. For me, I was high on Rico. I knew he was talented, but I looked at strength of schedule, and that's where I was like, you know what? I could see it both ways, but I should have dug in. I should have really dug in and be like, you know what? He's more talented than the strength of schedule that we see. So, I think that's a valid point.
And it's also complicated, especially with the receivers, where it's like you get the man guys versus the zone guys and cover threes. And it's, you can't just go broad and just like, oh, they don't give up a lot of points for receivers because there's just such a complicated issue. Switching to the next point. Coming into week 10, the Lions were scoring 30 points per game, which was number 2 in the NFL. They were averaging 350 yards a game, which was number 11. Then Dan Campbell just decided that wasn't good enough, and he took over play calling duties from John Morton. Josh, if this sticks, how does this impact the Lions moving forward?
Yeah, it was interesting to see. I don't think anybody really knew that was going to happen until right at game time. People started reporting, oh, Dan Campbell has the play calling sheet and he's calling them plays and like, oh, we're going to do a switch. The biggest thing I noticed was Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They saw almost a perfect 50-50 split in snap share, in opportunities, and this is a big one, in routes run as well. Even though Gibbs was on the receiving end of the fantasy performances, if this usage continues, Dan Campbell, maybe he can score 40-plus points a game, right? With Monty moving forward, I think he's a much more favorable running back. And after that last game, we might see his production go up a little bit more because of the way that they're using him. As far as Jameson Williams, he ended up actually running more routes than Amon-Ra St. Brown in week 10, which is absurd. This is the same usage. In 2024, when we talked about the tight end situation and ranking Sam Laporta, I was a little bit lower on Laporta because he was third on the totem pole. Well, this year it switched back. Laporta essentially has been number 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown been number 1. This game, it was switched. Amon-Ra St. Brown was number 1, J-Mo was number 2, and Laporta was number 3. If this usage continues moving forward, J-Mo owners got to feel good. Laporta, maybe not as much. But again, if they're performing even better, sure, that helps everybody.
It's a good thing I just traded away JMO like 3 weeks ago. I feel good about that.
Yeah. As I was doing this analysis, I was like, "Gosh, Alex traded JMO." But
I needed it. I was desperate. It was like I was on a super bye week. I was desperate. I literally didn't have any.
You were playing me that week too.
Bodies.
Like,
I know.
So, but yeah, I think it's a monitor situation. And to be honest, how impressive is it that Dan Campbell was just like, you know what? I'm going to pick a play calling sheet this week, and I'm going to drop 40 and perform better than we have all season on the whim. Maybe he was the offensive guru, and Ben Johnson was just learning from him.
Is that his first time ever calling plays? I don't know. Did he ever do that before?
I think he did take over at one point. I forget what year it was, but it was prior to Ben Johnson. It was actually before Ben Johnson kind of stepped in and took over as full-time OC. Maybe that happens, next year. Maybe he's not happy with the whole play calling situation, but it's just funny that they're putting up number 2 points and he's like, not good enough. Talking about quarterback play, you dragged Caleb Williams earlier in the year. Now he's sitting at QB9 on the season, has back-to-back top 4 weekly finishes. Are you ready to apologize to the man?
Listen, all I said was that he was missing wide open receivers in their opening week Monday night game. And he was missing wide open receivers. Okay. It was like I was just making it up. So, listen, I like Caleb Williams. I feel like he's a fun quarterback to watch. I feel like he's kind of grasping the offense better. But listen, they also have played a lot of really bad teams over the last month. So I don't think he's like quite at that set it and forget it caliber of a quarterback yet, at least in like a 1 QB league. Obviously, Superflex is totally different. But next couple of weeks, they have Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Those should be all right. But then down the stretch, they play Philly, Green Bay, Cleveland, and then Green Bay again. All of them are in the top 10 for least base points given up to QBs. We're getting back into that points given up to positions that we're talking about with Bowers, though. But, he's got a rough stretch down the end there, and we'll kind of see what we're dealing with there at the end.
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson elevates him a little bit because of his play calling. But yeah, that end of season strength of schedule was just rough. But these next couple of weeks, maybe he gets by. Did you see that elite pass he made when he was running to the sideline? And who did he hit in the end zone?
Zacchaeus?
Yeah, Zacchaeus in the end zone. It was a filthy pass. Hit him in the chest. It was insane. But yeah.
I was just watching Red Zone. I don't know if I saw all the action.
Yeah.
All right. Moving over. Our next blue and orange colored team, Courtlan Sutton, has only broken more than 10 points in half PPR in one of the last 5 weeks. What do you make of this situation, Josh?
I was a Courtlan Sutton believer. I was curious about this exact situation because I have Sutton on a couple of my teams. I went back and looked at Bo Nix because that's what I was thinking. I was like, you know what? This is Bo Nix's fault. It's not Courtlan Sutton's fault. I looked at weeks 1 through 5 compared to weeks 6 through 10. When I looked at the splits, Bo has had almost identical passing depth, same time to throw. His performance has almost been identical in those splits. So I wanted to blame the man, but there just wasn't any data or performance there that showed me to. I think it might just be that Troy Franklin has become the wide receiver 1 and Bo's favorite target. Over the past 5 weeks, Franklin has seen 23% team target share, 28% first read target share, which is both well above Sutton by almost 10% in some categories. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. And Franklin appears to be the wide receiver 1 duck.
He's quietly wide receiver 21 on the season. Like that's kind of crazy. Like nobody talks about him. I mean, for being a free borderline wide receiver 2, nobody's talking about the man. So it's kind of crazy.
So I hope Sutton bounces back, but it's looking real good for Franklin Overs if you added him, or he's available. Go out and get him. The trade deadline, many leagues is week 11. First, make sure what your trade deadline is. If you're on Sleeper, it gives you a reminder, but ESPN and Yahoo and some of the other leagues do not give you a reminder. So make sure you don't miss the opportunity if you're trying to unload or deal people. But Alex, who are your top trade targets this week before the window closes in some leagues?
First up, I'm looking at one of your 49ers. Jauan Jennings leads the Niners in targets over the last 4 games, has a touchdown in back-to-back. Brock is finally expected back this week, and they've always had a much better connection than him and Mac Jones. Yeah, we'll see. And it's been a little weird, but that's the current estimate, Plus, the Niners' playoff schedule, Tennessee, Indy, Chicago, were all in the top 11 for most points given up to wide receivers. So I'm looking for Jauan.
Yeah. I love all Niners players. I'm going to add Kittle and Ricky Pearsall, and obviously you can get CMC to the list.
All of them.
I love them all. Yeah, they got a juicy schedule coming up next couple of weeks. The guy that I'm really targeting, and this might sound strange, is Aaron Jones. And I like this pick. Yeah, because he isn't crazy valued right now. People probably are still looking at him as like a running back 2 situation, which is understandable rest of the season. But we talked about how when he came back, he was a workhorse in his usage. And the Vikings in the playoffs, they face against Dallas in the first round, who gives up monster yards in the ground. They then face the Giants in the second round, who I think is number 2 behind Cincinnati. Now, they do have Detroit in the fantasy playoffs, but at his price point right now, honestly, we might be looking at, like, if he can stay healthy, if we look at week 15 and 16 and we're going through our rankings, he might be a top 5 running back this week just because of matchups, or top 10. So I feel like you might be getting a top 10 running back at value right now if he stays healthy into the fantasy playoffs.
So, and JJ McCarthy can get that offense somewhat moving.
I know, he needs to get moving.
Yeah, I know. Another target of mine, and Josh, you're going to love this, but I'm going to say Kyle Pitts. I know you've brought this man up numerous times.
My man.
Coming off his second lowest performance of the year. His value's low, but his game could have been way juicier. He had a really long touchdown pass that he should have brought in, but didn't. Had he had that, it'd been like a monster performance. Among tight ends, he's tied for 5th in total targets, 3rd in team target share. Darnell Mooney has only been able to bring in 3 of his last 14 targets. The Falcons are desperate for someone to deliver outside of London. Their remaining schedule is also favorable for tight ends. In fact, their toughest opponent is actually my Bucks, who ranked 22nd in points given up to tight ends, which is crazy because last year we were the only ones that Pitts was able to score on. He was dominating us last year. For some reason, we're not that bad against tight ends this year. I don't know. But otherwise, most of his matchups are pretty juicy. So altogether, I think he should have some nice performances down the stretch. He's only rostered at 80%. So, hey, look out there. Maybe you can even get the man off a waiver. You don't even need to trade for him.
Okay, Kyle Pitts. This next guy is another Viking. It honestly might cost you a little bit more than Aaron Jones. Yeah, I'm double dip. And it's because I like strength of schedule too, but Justin Jefferson. So after last game, people watched that. I watched it too. JJ just didn't look into it. He didn't look like his normal self. And because the connection just hasn't been there. Yeah. But listen, he is seeing 47% first read target share, which over the past couple of weeks with JJ is number 1 in the NFL. 30% of team target share. He's seen over 10 targets a game with McCarthy. The rest of season strength of schedule and playoff schedule is one of the best, not just for fantasy wide receivers, but also quarterbacks. I think the window to buy as people continue to lose hope on Justin Jefferson is right now. I'm viewing him as a top 10 wide receiver rest of season, maybe 8, and he has some amazing playoff schedules. So you might need to pay up a little bit for him. But I think if you can acquire him at the discount that he is right now because of his future schedule, it's worth it.
Switching over to sell highs. I think Nico Collins is a pretty good sell high candidate right now. Even without a touchdown, he put up his highest scoring week of the season. And that was with Davis Mills under center. He was targeted a massive 15 times. That's something that's only happened once in his entire career of playing with CJ Stroud. Maybe Stroud doesn't clear concussion protocol for the Titans this week, in which case I think he probably has a decent performance. But him and Stroud just have not been vibing all season. Even if Nico does do all right down the stretch, week 17, which is the championship week, they have the Los Angeles Chargers, who have given up the second fewest points to wide receivers in the season. So I just think hop off this train while you can.
Okay. Yeah, Nico. I mean, I'm conflicted with Nico. Like, I get to sell high, and I consider him only a wide receiver 2, but the biggest issue I feel like for them has been their offensive line. And if I think do they have Vegas in 15 or 16? I think they got a couple softer teams in 15 and 16 that typically don't have a high pressure rate. And I think that's been the biggest issue with CJ Stroud is he's been pressured on like 40+% of dropbacks.
Week 15 is Arizona, week 16 is Las Vegas.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think he might be able to find value those 2 weeks, but yeah, week 17, the Chargers have not been giving up explosive plays to wide receiver. Championship game, that would hurt. But you might have to pay extra to get him. Yeah, so I'm conflicted. I'm not totally sold yet on that, but I'm conflicted. I see it. Yeah. All right, this guy, you're probably going to disagree with me, honestly, as I bring this up. And some of you might be driving or listening or wherever you are, so sit down because this might be a shocker. But I am saying that you can sell high on Jonathan Taylor, the running back 1 on the year. Now,
no. He's not running. He's not running back 1. He is fantasy football player number 1.
Number 1. Okay.
Positions.
Let me explain. Okay, let me explain why I'm telling you to sell
5
JT.
games of 3 touchdowns? Okay, go on.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. JT, right, is elite. If you want to keep him, obviously, all right? And I'm not saying that you give him up for peanuts, but let me explain why, and then I'll tell you some players I would be willing to get. The Colts have been favored in 7 of the last 10 games. In the 2 games that the Colts lost, JT scored 9.4 fantasy points, which was running back 28 in half PPR scoring. After the bye week, the Colts have 6 straight games where they are considered underdogs until week 17. Yes. JT has seen you can look it up if you want. I'll show you the data. Yes,
Vegas has them losing to the Jags.
Yes, because I think the Jags are at home that week. Yes. Yeah. They don't have them losing in week 17. Yeah, they have 6 straight games. I'm just saying what Vegas is saying, okay?
Yeah.
They're considered underdogs. Now, in games where they need to pass the ball, JT is seeing a 10% team target share, which is running back 16 for starters, which is behind Alvin Kamara, and we've already talked about him not getting a whole lot of usage. So he's not very involved in the passing game when they get behind, and the rest of season schedule for running backs is one of the most difficult. Now, again, JT is elite. I understand, but I think he's not going to be that number 1 scorer in all of fantasy that we saw during this stretch. I would be willing to trade him for 1-for-1, or maybe you could probably get a 2-for-1 with a kind of sweetener. But
any player would have to be a 2-for-1 for JT. Like no one, like you could easily get a 2-for-1 for anything. Like
you're probably right, but I would honestly, from a value perspective, I would trade him straight up for CMC. I would probably do it for Jamar Chase. I would probably do it for Rashid Rice. I would probably do it for JSN, and I would probably do it for Devon Achane. Those are the 4 guys that I would probably make a deal in a 1-for-1. Granted, you could get more. But based on how the
any of those, you could be like, hey, add on like a whatever wide receiver 2, and they would do it.
So, but those would be the guys, and then some kind of additional. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, CD. Obviously, you would need more than just a 1-for-1 for those guys. But I am just throwing it out there that it is a possibility. And I will remember, I'm going to keep track to see how he does from here forward and see what his point per game differential is. This could be a terrible take, but I think those are the guys that I would be willing to do. I'm not. I'm honestly. I am being honest. Somebody offered me JT, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be making this deal. Listen, it's in the works, so I might have something else, so I can't divulge too much information. Right. But so yeah, and it might have been a joke too. I don't know. I got to get some clarification on it. But either way, I think he is at the point where right now it could be the juice is the best it's going to get. And
I mean,
it could be
Yeah, you literally cannot be higher in value than what JT is right now.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. So, all right. Well, that's all we got for you. If you like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, me and Alex just appreciate y'all hanging out. As always, go steal a championship, and we'll catch y'all next week. Later.
Peace.